We have 3 honored guests who come from diverse religious as well as cultural backgrounds. Each one of them will be highlighting meaningful thoughts from their own faith traditions. With your kindest permission, I would like to introduce our first speaker, Ms. Holly B. Farber. Ms. Holly Brode Farber was born and raised in St. Paul, Minnesota. She is a respected community activist and leader, having served on many boards, including Beth Jacob Synagogue, the United Jewish Fund and Council, the National Council of Jewish Women, and the Talmud Torah School. Ms. Farber did her undergraduate work at the University of Massachusetts Amherst. She graduated with honors from the University of Minnesota Law School. She was recently featured on a local cable TV talk show and has received national recognition for her expert work with the Jewish Community Relations Council. Please welcome Ms. Holly Farber.
What a thrill it is for me to be here tonight with you. And having just celebrated my 44th birthday, I now enjoy reading with my reading glasses, something new in my life. I am thrilled to discuss the subject that is near and dear to my heart, namely, strengthening family life by looking to resources and wisdom within the Abrahamic traditions. As people of faith, we have much in common. We work to bring God into our lives and to maintain the traditions of our religion, all in a background of our lives here in Minnesota in this year, 2011. I have a few ideas to share, but first I'd like to start with a story. It's a midrash, which is an ancient story told by the rabbis, one that has created a powerful image as my husband John and I built our home. This story is about the destruction of the Second Temple and the transformation of the religion of Judaism. I mean the utter transformation from a religion based on priests, sacrifices, and pilgrimage to a religion as I practice it, based on rabbis, synagogues, and home. My rabbi at Beth Jacob Synagogue in St. Paul, Rabbi Morris Allen, told me this midrash, and he said that when the people were going through the rubble of the destruction of the temple, they found the altars. And these altars, they moved to the homes of the people, so that each family brings a measure of the sacred to their gatherings. When we salt our traditional bread, which is called challah, we have that on Friday nights, we salt that before we eat it. We do this in memory of the fact that the sacrifices were salted. When we bless our children, as we do on Friday nights, my husband John and I are fortunate enough to be the parents of identical twin 14-year-old boys and a 12-year-old daughter. And when we bless them, as we welcome in the Sabbath, we use the sacred words that were used by Jacob and later by the priests. These words are, may God bless you and protect you. May God's face shine down upon you and be gracious unto you. May God favor you and grant you peace. I see some heads nodding in the room, and that's because these words are very familiar to many of you. These rituals moved home for us as Jews, and throughout these thousands of years, from generation to generation, these traditions have been carried on. When I think of the qualities that my husband and I have nurtured in building our family, I kind of have to laugh, because really, there's some innate contradiction in them. On the one hand, we strive to honor tradition. On the other hand, we believe that Judaism belongs to us, right here and right now. We must constantly engage in community, in all the circles from the smallest to the largest, and that requires compromise, necessarily. On the other hand, we also have to remain true to our own values. Creating peace and serenity takes a lot of work, and it can be a delicate balance. In last week's Torah portion, As Jews, we read through the Hebrew scriptures in a very prescribed manner. Each week, a specific section. And so whatever synagogue you walk into anywhere in the world, they're going to be reading the exact same thing on that Sabbath. So and we move through the cycle according to the cycle of holidays and according to being able to actually begin and end the reading of the scriptures on the specific holiday that's dedicated to that, called Simchat Torah, or the celebration of the Torah. We start and finish the Torah, so we call our Sabbath according to the specific passages of the Torah that we're reading. And so last week, as I'm sitting in synagogue listening, I, of course, received a great deal of inspiration that is going to inform my talk tonight. This portion, Kitisa, has a stunning example, or many stunning examples, actually, of the issues that we are exploring here together tonight. I recall a local rabbi by the name of Shosh-Dworsky, who some of you may know. She spoke last year, I think, on the Shabbat, talking about this passage of the Torah. She pointed out that after this part of the Torah describes in detail the building of the tabernacle. And she points out that after the list of building instructions given in the scripture, and they're really details for building a desert tabernacle that are going to hold 10 commandments, details that some might consider tedious in their blueprint-like detail, the commandment to keep the Sabbath is then repeated. This seems striking. It seems a little bit out of place. The actual words used for this repetition of the commandment are very familiar to Jews, as they are an important part of our liturgy. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat v'dorotam b'rit olam. That's from Exodus chapter 31, verse 16. In English, the people of Israel shall keep the Sabbath, making the Sabbath throughout the ages as a covenant for all time. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, and on the seventh day God ceased from work and rested. So that's probably familiar to some of you as well. The word to describing how to create Shabbat is the Hebrew word la'asot. Literally translated, this means to do or to make. In other words, that Shabbat feeling does not just wash over you like a wave at sunset, creating a peaceful welcome to a day of rest, of community, and family. No, indeed. In fact, it takes a great deal of work and preparation. It takes someone to actively engage, to la'asot, to clean the house, to make the meal, to invite the guests, etc. The peace of Sabbath takes work and preparation. We are given instructions, long and detailed, but there is no substitute for our involvement to make that celebration meaningful. So my first answer to the question of what strengthens our Jewish family is get involved. Get your hands dirty, but then wash them before you set the table, or better yet, if your hands are dirty, get somebody else to set the table. Friday night Sabbath dinner is a highlight that helps nurture our family. Being together, making traditional prayers, eating our wonderful foods, and sharing an expectation that everyone will sit and stay at the table for conversation is a very modern and vogue idea these days. I have read many current articles about the importance of family meals in everything from reducing obesity to preventing drug abuse in teens. There's really nothing Jewish or particularly religious, per se, about sitting together as a family and sharing a meal. As we heard earlier today, it is a time-honored tradition. But I personally feel blessed that I don't have to invent this myself, that I can fit it to a tradition that is bigger than me and bigger than my family. And on the occasions that we may encounter resistance, I can remind the complainer, sometimes one of our 14-year-olds who wants to leave the table early, I tell them that I didn't invent Shabbat, although I certainly strive to be in the company of the one who did. So go for it. Sabbath does not just happen, it needs to be made. My second answer is community. While it is important to be strong and connected at home, tradition does not allow us to be isolated. In fact, last week's Torah portion begins with the taking of the census. Everyone pays a half shekel, small amount of money, and scripture states in Exodus chapter 30, verse 15, that the rich shall not pay more, nor shall the poor pay less. Scholars point out that the word used for each shall pay is the word vanatnu, which is a palindrome. In other words, it reads the same backwards as it does forward. This suggests that charity is a two-way process. What that means to me is a few things, which are in fact important illustrations of some very significant ideas. One is that everyone has something to give, and everyone has some kind of need. To me, this is a very real and healthy way to interact with people. Maybe today you are in a position to give financially. Maybe tomorrow you will be in financial need. To me, some time, some strength, some ability, all of those things are the things that you can give to your community. It has been my experience that even those in a position to give may also have some kind of need that they need fulfilled. This reminds me of one of my favorite sayings, which states, "What you are is God's gift to you. What you become is your gift to God." So take what you are and use it well. Remember that what you are is a gift, and you can in turn give a gift to God by becoming your best self, whatever that means. Being counted means showing up however you are and with whatever you have. Living in community means sharing in the condition of others, with full knowledge that all conditions are fluid. For me, this represents hope and a belief that we can make the world a better place and that we have the ability to improve our personal situations. It can be overwhelming to take all of that on. And when it is, I call to mind one of my other favorite sayings, Lo alecha hamlacha ligmor. In Hebrew, in English, it is not up to you to complete the job, but you may not sit by and do nothing. Third for me is counting our blessings, while at the same time forgiving imperfections in ourselves and in others. As a traditional Jewish family, we keep a kosher home. There has been no better role model than my own mother and many of her contemporaries in keeping a home that is kosher in letter and in spirit. We have been able to build on the foundation of these incredible people. When my parents moved here from New York, my mom was pregnant with me. She was accustomed to keeping kosher in a context of a much larger Jewish community. So you can imagine the adjustment when they moved into a duplex with a Mormon family in St. Paul. That wonderful friendship nourished both our families, and we joyfully celebrated each other. One way that keeping kosher has evolved recently is in a movement inside Judaism calling for an ethical standard alongside a ritual standard. In fact, my rabbi, Morris Allen, is a national leader on this issue in creating the standard that respects the rights of workers, especially workers at meatpacking plants. This is a wonderful example of a blending of tradition and modernity, and I am very proud to be a part of it. For us, keeping kosher means expressing gratitude to God for our food, in addition to following a set of rules. And when mistakes are made, we know how to rectify them. Gratitude and blessing are also at the heart of this whole system of taking in food.